If you're in the UK, good evening. If you're in the US or Canada, good afternoon. Or if you're in Australia or Japan, good morning. Yeah, I've got everything covered there. On today's show, I'd speak to I can't believe I'm saying this, but the basic bitch slayer. I can't wait to get into this because I cannot wait for this. But first, intern, you know what to do. Roll the intro. And I'm delighted to be joined by the one and only Ruby Roberts. How are we?
Hi, nice to see you. I'm doing great. How are you?
I am very, very well, thank you. Other than I think there's a bug going around because you've got a sore throat. I feel a
Yeah.
bit ill, so something going off.
Oh, well, we'll get to it. It'll be fine. We might both sound hoarse by the end of it, but we'll have a good chat.
That's all. So, I mean, you spoke before we came on the air. You've been to Denmark, so talk about that.
Yes, so I was recently involved in a pride show for it was in Sweden for Svensk Wrestling Sid.
Hmm.
I got to spend a couple of days in Copenhagen on the way there and the way back, and it was fantastic. Great weekend, brilliant show, great weather, fantastic people. Just had a great time.
At least the weather's been better there than it is in the UK at the minute.
Yes, I came from very fantastic 30-degree sunny weather straight back to rain. Just Scotland rain.
But did it cool it down for you, though?
A little bit. To be fair, I did miss it a bit. It's I can deal with like nice warm weather for a while, but after like a day or so, I'm like, okay, I'm built for the snow, man. I'm from Scotland. I'm not. This is too much sun.
There you go, there you go. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, the purpose of today's show is obviously about you, really. So, we've got loads of stuff to get through. One thing I always say to all my guests, and I'll mention it every single time, if there's anything you don't feel comfortable talking about, we just say next question and we move on. Is that all right?
Excellent. That sounds great.
Very right then. So first thing I want to ask is obviously your introduction to wrestling, and I'm talking more from obviously a fan of the moment.
I'm really sorry. Could you say that again? There's a little bit. I think my connection's terrible.
Yeah, sorry. So first question I've got for you is obviously your introduction to wrestling, obviously but from a fan's point of view.
I'm really sorry. What was that last bit again? So, my introduction into wrestling
As a fan.
as a fan, right? Okay, sorry, it just kept cutting out. So I was very much an attitude baby. I grew up in the 90s. I was SmackDown on a Saturday morning on Sky. That was my entire world on a Saturday morning was just getting to sit down and watch SmackDown. And that just watching it at that time at the Attitude Era was just such a big, bold, explosive time for wrestling that I was hooked. And it basically like set up the rest of my personality for the rest of life. That and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and that was me. Like that's my personality. Wrestling and Buffy. That
That is brilliant. So obviously you mentioned the Attitude Era there. What wrestlers obviously did you obviously idolize? I imagine like you Stone Cold, The Rock and stuff.
yes, very much Stone Cold. I on more than one occasion got in trouble for stunnering my brother off a couch, but I loved everyone. I was obsessed with The Rock and all of the big main ones. But for me, it was all about China and Lita. It was as a girl at that time, being a massive tomboy. I just wanted to be that girl who got to go in and fight like a guy and do what the guys were doing and just do the thing, just be a wrestler regardless of gender. And that was such a huge thing for me to see growing up. And it really carried on for the rest of my life and pretty much everything that I do. I was like, yeah, no, I'm just going to do everything the way I want to do it.
Fair enough, fair enough. So obviously I imagine did you go to any like shows and stuff?
Yes. So, well, not when I was younger. When I was younger, there was only a few options at the time. Like you could go to Braehead or the SECC to see the WWE shows. But unfortunately, when we were younger, we didn't really have enough money to go and see those. So it was mostly trying to get one guy to buy a pay-per-view, and then we'd all go to that one guy's house. It wasn't until I was much older that I started going to local shows. I think I must have been about 19 or 20.
Hmm.
And the first one I went to was actually the first ever Fierce Female show in Glasgow. and it was an all-female show, and I'd never seen anything like it before, and it reignited that. Oh, I really want to do this. I could do this. They're all doing this. Why can't I not? Let's just go. Let's try it. Unfortunately, at that time, it wasn't meant to be though. I did try to go to a school called Source Wrestling, but I sustained an injury at my work. I ripped my rotator cuff and I pulled my arm out the socket. I fell down
Ouch.
and didn't let go of the railing because you've got to maintain points of contact. So apparently, I took that extremely literally and just did not let go. But yeah, so that was the sort of first introduction to local shows that I got to. And then after that, developed into going to ICW and more family shows, and then getting into actually doing wrestling years later, and getting to perform on the shows.
So obviously, you just mentioned the injury there. So how long from obviously that injury was you able to obviously, go to training?
So no, it was I ended up requiring surgery, and I was out for about 3 years with the injury, and then I actually developed a condition called fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain condition. I didn't start wrestling again or trying to wrestle again until 2018, and it was actually a really big step for me because by that point, I was then 26, 27, 27, and I had actually my condition had sort of become. I was legally technically disabled. I'm trying to think how to word this. I'd sort of gained a huge amount of weight. I was 19 stone nearly. I had a walking stick. Like my mobility was terrible. And it was actually my cousin at the time, Bobby Roberts, had said he was starting his own wrestling school. Did I want to try and maybe get myself moving a wee bit by using wrestling? Because I'd literally tried everything.
Mm-hmm.
Zumba, definitely not for me. Dancercise, definitely not for me. But wrestling turns out that's what works for me. And yeah, I got into it through that, and it was very much a process of we'll just see what I can do, see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
capable of, and then eventually I started. My mobility got a bit better, my fitness got a bit better. I started dropping weight, and as sort of time progressed, I started going, could I do shows? I think I could actually do that. Like, I think I could actually do this, and started pushing through, and then got to the point where I could actually perform, do shows. I don't need the walking stick anymore, and pretty much, yeah, just used wrestling and something that I love to get myself back fit.
And how long was obviously this process? Obviously from I forgot the name of the thing, but obviously to doing shows.
Fibromyalgia, it's called, or fibro for short. It was about 2 or 3 years. I was set to debut just before COVID, and then obviously COVID happened, everything shut down, and
Mm-hmm.
it really wasn't until after COVID, it was actually August 2021, I got to finally properly debut and sort of really get into things. Um, so I think so that's 2000, like yeah, 3 years, 3 years before I could properly, regularly do shows.
And what's that? What was that like for you? Obviously, personally, going through all this and obviously being able to debut. What was that like for you personally?
It was a whole load of emotions, and it was very overwhelming to be honest. Because at the point where I started in 2018, when I started with Respect Wrestling, it really was just I had no plans of actually being able to perform. I would have loved to, but in my head, that was never achievable. So when it finally became a real thing, when I finally got to go out and perform and in my local area against somebody that I respected the hell out of, in front of people that had trained me and helped me, it was this huge moment for me where I was like, you know what, we're going to just see how far we can take this, because I've wanted to be a pro wrestler since I was a wee girl, and at this point I feel like if I can overcome this and I can
Mm-hmm.
be in pain every day and still do this, then there is nothing stopping me from just taking it as far as I can.
Excellent, excellent. Obviously, today, obviously, are you healthy? That's the key question.
Yes, like I said, I'm still in pain every day. It's not something that ever really goes away, but it's a lot more manageable, and it's a lot more or a lot less of an obstacle now. It's something that I just have to manage rather than something that's actively stopping me. So wrestling really has sort of been a gateway into getting my life back.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, Obviously that's obviously your Jen. I want to move obviously onto the gimmick because I love this gimmick. By the way, it's called the Basic Bitch Slayer. So there's going to be people obviously in the Americas asking, "What is a Basic Bitch Slayer?"
So, Ruby Roberts, the basic bitch slayer, doesn't matter, heel, face, whatever. Basically, I think that I am fantastic. I think that I am elite. I am the best you're going to get. There's no one like me. I'm very unique. And in that sense, I feel that anybody who is not meeting that is just basic, is not meeting the mark, is not good enough. If you're going to do this, you need to meet me there. And basically, I am going to slay everybody and anybody who is willing to step into the ring with me. And if you're not meeting the mark, you're a basic bitch.
I love that. That is brilliant. That's absolutely incredible. So I imagine you're more of a heel than in the ring. Is that correct?
Usually, yes. I very much believe that it's not me that changes, it's the motivation behind what I'm doing and why and who I'm
Hmm.
fighting. So most of the time it is heel work, yes. And I very much enjoy that. When I was younger, obviously Buffy the Vampire Slayer I mentioned earlier is a huge part of this character. Like every sort of detail of what I'm doing is a little nod to that show because I really did grow up absolutely loving it, and it is such a big part of my personality that it's something that I took so much inspiration from. So obviously the name Basic Bitch Slayer, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but there's also loads of other things like the heels, the bad guys in the show were some of my favourite characters because they were so intense and over the top, and that was something that I really wanted to do because when you are the bad guy, you can get away with so much more. You can say so much more. You can be so much more over the top and ridiculous, and it sort of gives you that vehicle to just go out and just be big and aggressive and nasty as you want to be and dramatic if you want to be or whatever. And it just gives you that sort of opportunity to just go right over the top with it. I love it.
I'm kind of scared to answer this next question now, and I'm thinking, would you ever be a face? Would you be a nice person? But based on what you've just said there, I highly doubt it.
Well, so when I'm faced, yeah, I'm still myself. I still think that people need to. I want a challenge in the ring. The main thing is with me, I want to fight everybody. I want to challenge everyone, but I really want people to like make me better as a fighter. If I'm fighting you, I want it to like propel me forward. So when I'm a face, it's all about the challenge. It's all about. I still want people to come and meet me at that level. I still don't want people to be basic, but I want it to be a proper challenge, a proper fight. So it's still very much the same person. It's just my motivation's changed. It's less about dominance in that situation and trying to win, and more about, oh, I want to be the best fighter I can be. So this is going to be fun. Let's go.
I love this. I love this. So you've obviously mentioned Respect Wrestling. What's some other promotions you've worked for?
So we've got in the UK we have Respect Wrestling, W3L Wrestling. We've got wrestling in Newcastle. Um, who else? We've got Scottish Wrestling Entertainment. Uh, and recently CCW, who have been coming over. CCW is Copenhagen Championship Wrestling, who have recently started doing shows in Scotland as well as doing shows in Denmark. So I've been working with them. Two promotions in Sweden as well, which is Svensk Wrestling and Stockholm Wrestling. And yeah, it's just been a fantastic time working with all these different companies,
That's
and
incredible.
hopefully more
Absolutely.
in the future.
There you go. So I want to get your opinion, obviously the wrestling industry as a whole. I mean, what's your thoughts on obviously the UK wrestling scene at the moment?
So I really like the fact that the UK wrestling scene at the moment seems to be going through a massive amount of changes and shifts, and the things that we sort of knew to be true before COVID are all shifting and changing now. It's such a colourful, diverse scene. We've had so many people who have come up since then who are now sort of filling the shoes of the people who have gone on to WWE, who have sort of just before COVID all ascended on to the next sort of stage. And it means that there's suddenly this sort of buzz again. There's I don't know how to describe it. There's like a buzz for wrestling again. Everyone's so passionate about what we're doing, and the fact that we didn't get to do it for so long, everyone's come back with so many ideas, and everyone's so enthusiastic. It's been a really really great environment to be part of, to be honest.
Yeah, the one thing I like is, and I've spoke about this obviously on a previous show as well, is you've got a core of wrestlers obviously who've been in like different promotions in the UK, but you still get to see them in stuff like, as an example, like Progress, 1PW. That's the two which obviously is near me, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads me obviously on to my next question is, based on obviously who you've seen in the UK scene, who would you like to obviously wrestle?
Oh, so I have a list about a mile long. Like I said, I want to wrestle everybody. In the UK at the moment, I mean, you've got Molly Spartan, Angel Hayes, um, Lizzie Evo. I recently got to wrestle Lana Austin, which was a huge thing for me. I have loved her work for years, and the fact that I got to wrestle her finally, I was so happy. I mean, I was a great match. Like, oh, we battered each other. It was so much fun. um, there's so many women. Alexis Falcon. Oh, I've been following everything she's been doing with Crowley recently, and I want to wrestle that girl. I think we could have a fantastic match. Just there's so many. There's so many girls. Not even just girls. I want to wrestle everyone. I'm not a massive believer in set gender rules all the time. I think they very much have their place, especially see family shows. I don't think it's the place, but I do think that I want to wrestle everybody because I can learn from everybody. I can learn from every experience. So yeah, bring it on, men, women, in between, whatever.
Yeah, the
Give
one
me.
thing I like, yeah, when it comes to mixed gender matches, obviously some people are against it, some people are for it. I mean, I've never actually seen one in person, so I can't really comment about it. But
Yeah,
I like the fact that you've said, "Look, I'm not bothered whether it's a male or female. I want to wrestle absolutely everybody." I
yep,
love that. Incredible. So you just mentioned Lana Austin there, and obviously it was, if I remember rightly, I've got the image somewhere, which was Brawl at the Hall.
yes,
Now, I mean, was this obviously because obviously Lana's obviously big, making a big name for herself. She's reinvented herself.
yes,
I mean, you just said there you beat the shit out of each other, literally.
yep. We had a great time. Oh, so much fun. Yeah, like it's no pillow fighting. Like, so you go in, you talk to each other, you agree on it, you go for it, and you have a great match. And it was so much fun, and it just every bit of that experience was fantastic. Even just getting like smacked in the jaw, loved it. Would happily do that on repeat for forever.
We're 18 minutes in, and Ruby Roberts has just said, "I like getting smacked in the jaw."
Yep.
That's brilliant. Oh dear. So I obviously to learn a bit more obviously about you behind the scenes. You've obviously mentioned Buffy. I mean, I'm a huge fan back in the day. I'm absolutely gutted the show absolutely ended, but I
Mhm.
mean, this image says it all, really, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, and there is so much backstory to that to that image.
Good. Do
That
do tell.
was the time. That was the second time that I met James Masters. The first time I met him was in 2017, and like I said, I was heavier and I had my walking stick. I had no confidence in myself, and when I walked up, I've got the picture somewhere. When I walked up, I had a wee spike pop head, and because I had no confidence in myself, I tried to speak, and the only thing that came out was just that noise. That was it. There was no other communication. And he kind of just looked at me, went, there you go, take the photo, on you go, get. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. I've just made weird noises at you. I must seem like a psycho. Um, so years later, he comes back to Comic Con in Scotland, which was last year, and I was like, I've got the opportunity to go and redo this, and he's gonna have no clue who I am. So it's not like he's gonna be like, "Oh, you're that girl that made the funny noise." So I was like, "Right, okay, we're going. I need to tell this man how important he is. I need to tell him that he is like so much of the makeup of who I am as a wrestler. Like even down to the way I walk, the way I present myself. I've watched that show so many times. I've studied the way that that man holds himself, the gait, the way his hips move when he walks, everything, and then tried to emulate it because I'm like, that man has the coolest bad guy walk of anyone. But yeah, so I go in and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get like it's a signing and then a photo, and I'm like, I'm only gonna get a few seconds. I'm only gonna get a few seconds to tell this man everything that I want to tell him. So I literally go in there and I'm like, okay, hi, my name's this, and I'm a wrestler, and I absolutely love you, and I based everything around about Buffy, and I was talking like a million miles an hour, just like I have literally based everything around you, and I had my gear on, and I really embarrassingly went, see, and like opened the jacket up to show him the logo, and then turned around and showed him the logo on the backside, and then immediately went, oh my god, I've just flashed myself at this man. oh my God, right, but we've done it now, just carry on, carry on. They just keep talking, and then I finally stopped talking after, like, I think it must have been 2 minutes of just straight firing information at this man. And he just sits back super cool and just goes, that's really cool, man. Like, you have to hit each other. Like, actually, like, that's live. And I'm like, yeah, it's live. Like, yeah, we have to hit each other. It's like, yeah. And he was just like, that's so cool. Like, on the show, it's angles, and like, we're not really hitting each other. And like, you've got people right there that, and in my head, I'm just like, freaking out because the love of my life has just told me that he thinks I am cool. And at this point, we have a face mask on and everything, and he signs my photo, and I'm melting. And I come out, and then we do the photo separately. So later on, I come back and I take the mask off for the photo. And before I've even said anything, I walk in and he goes, "Well, don't you just look fantastic without a face mask?" I don't know how I didn't just melt on the spot. I thought I was just going to collapse to the floor, and I'm like, okay, no, this is fine. And I'm like, oh, thank you. And we go up to take the photo, and I'm so nervous. She's like, this is so huge for me. And I just say to him, I was like, oh, this is the bit I'm bad at. I'm good at wrestling, bad at photos. And he just kind of grabbed me and pulled me over, and he's like, all we need to do is stand here and look sexy. That is not a problem for you. And I was just like, that's it. My life is made. My life, that's it. I never nothing like I want to be a wrestler, but like you see, if I died right that second, I would have been happy. Like, oh my God. And my greatest regret in life is I never tried to slip that man my phone number.
Okay, so I mean, I don't even know what to say to that, but I love
Neither
the
did
fact
I.
that I mean that's definitely a unique. You know what I mean? When you meet somebody obviously who you like, so but yeah, I mean,
Yes.
but I just love the fact that you like Buffy because that's something I used to watch way back in the day, and it's incredible.
It's
You know,
it's it's such a good show, and it's like one of those things that you can watch it growing up and then watch it as an adult and have a whole different appreciation from it because you suddenly see it from a completely different angle.
I mean, you picked the best actor because he's obviously one of my favorites in the show as well. So me and you kind of, getting along here.
Yes.
He,
He was always one of my favorite characters, and the fact that for sure the guy only got booked for 5 episodes. He was only given five, went in, and then by fan demand, he was so popular that Joss Whedon lost it with him, pushed him up against the wall, and straight up was like, "Don't think you're sticking about for forever," and had to end up writing him into the show right until the very end of it. And I love that. I think that's fantastic.
yeah, I mean, I think he played the character so well. So I mean, for me, I cannot complain whatsoever. So the other thing I like as well, because I actually love this show, is Doctor Who, of course. Now, one question I've got for you for this is, who's your favorite Doctor?
David Tennant, straight away.
Yes, yes.
David Tennant is the be all and end all for me. Don't get me wrong, I liked Matt Smith, he was all right. I liked everyone else, but David Tennant was by far the absolute best one for me.
I think the one thing I like is he played the character so well. He had that, smugness. He played it really well. I mean, yeah, I like Matt Smith as well. Matt Smith, one of those where he like, grow on me a little bit, but I still think, nah, David Tennant.
I felt sometimes with Matt Smith, it was almost like he was trying too hard to be like David Tennant. Every other
Hmm.
doctor had their own personality and their own thing, whereas it very much felt for me like Matt Smith came in going, right, I'm going to emulate what David Tennant did. Pardon me. And it almost kind of took me out of the regeneration cycle thing because it was almost like, well, I get that you're the same guy fundamentally, but like each generation is different. So why are you so much like David Tennant? I might
Yeah,
just be.
no, I have to agree. I think the fact that he tried to be now you mentioned that, and I actually think about it, you kind of on point there. So I have to agree. But then obviously, do you know what? They've regenerated that many times. They've obviously changed so many times. You haven't lost where I am.
Yeah, I was actually watching. Someone on TikTok had made like a chronological storyline for River Song because obviously when we first meet her, she's older, and then like it's a whole thing and it's all over the place. And I really appreciated that someone actually sat and put it in chronological order so you could be like, right, okay, this is what's happening. Because even though I've watched the show a few times, or like up to a certain point, I've watched it a few times. Even I was like, right, wait, what point's this again? Where are they? What? But yeah, it's really good to see when people appreciate it that much. They'll sit and make the time for it and sit and make a whole explanation video. I'm like, I appreciate people like that. That's fantastic.
There you go. Who's your favorite companion?
Oh, oh. Oh, so if you had asked me when I was younger, it was always going to be Billie Piper. Like I'd such a soft spot for obviously being the first one for Christopher Eccleston, and then keeping on,
Hmm.
and then the story, the whole episode where she gets, spoilers if anybody hasn't seen this, right? Where she gets trapped away. No matter how many times I watch that, I cry. I cry so hard, and I'm not a greedy person, but my god, that's one of the things I actually like about David Tennant so much as the Doctor. He gets a level of emotion out in his acting that not a lot of other people can get, and he does it in such a way that, I mean, you really, really care about what's happening. I think that's part of the reason he was so successful at it. Other than that, I would have to say Donna. I
Me,
love
me and
Cat.
you are going to be best friends because at the end of the day, I kind of agree with absolutely everything here. Donna, yeah, I love Donna's comedy side, so this is brilliant. I absolutely love this. I mean, again, like I started watching this Billy Piper, obviously with Eccleston. I didn't know the
Mhm.
backstory, so then when I obviously researched it, I'm like, holy shit, there's actually a lot more than I thought.
Yeah. When you really start getting into it all, there's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever watch like the side shows, like Torchwood, Sarah Jane things and stuff?
A little bit. I watched like the first two seasons of Torchwood, and I've seen the Adventures of Sarah. Oh,
Jane?
oh my god, yes, Sarah Jane. Oh my god, my brain went completely blank there. Sorry. Yeah, the Adventures of Sarah Jane. On CBBC. I've not seen any of the other ones. I didn't see the final for Torchwood though. Like, I do want to go back and rewatch it all because again, James Marsters makes several appearances, and he is just a gorgeous, fantastic actor, and I want to watch everything he's in. So more motivation.
There you go. There you go. So one thing I noticed as well, obviously while I was researching, you're a rock music guy person.
Yes, very
I am.
much a new girl.
Come on, give me some bands what you like, because I'm loving this.
Oh, so my steadfast classics come very new metal based. My steadfast classics are like your Slipknot, Korn, Disturbed, Skindred. Who else? There's so many bands. I'm quite eclectic with my music taste, so it's not just metal. It's for the most part metal, but I also have a bit of an EDM thing. Skrillex. Also, I'm a huge Dolly Parton fan, like massive. I absolutely love her. Any kind of alternative rock crossover, I'm a huge fan of any Taylor Swift song that gets made into a rock song, and I don't
Ooh,
know why. They just
that were alright until you said Taylor Swift. Sorry.
no, that's completely fair. That's one of those ones that even I was shocked by, because when somebody said to me like, "Oh, can we put on these Taylor Swift remixes?" I'm like, "Really?"
Not really.
And they put them on. And I'm like, "Oh, right, okay. So this is like a Day to Remember and stuff covering this. All right, okay, cool. I'm on over that." Don't get me wrong, I don't mind Taylor Swift, but it's not really my vibe.
Okay, okay. So Slipknot, old stuff or new stuff?
I very much float between some of their newer stuff I like, and not all of it, but some of it very much into the classic. Especially, and it's not so much a classic album, but it was one that came out when I was actually a teenager. Was Psychosocial. I really, really like. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I actually really liked Psychosocial.
Is that the album All Hope Is Gone?
Yes,
Yes,
yes, I've
because
got them the wrong way around. That was the title track, so there was a track off of that one. Sorry, yes, All Hope Is Gone.
yeah, the one thing I remember reading about that is that's the only album where they've never actually gone all together. Do you know, like in a studio, they're doing it all in bits, and yet it's one of the most popular albums ever. It's weird.
It was the very first album after Paul died, and it was sort of the first album where they sort of discussed what happened in the music. I think that's part of the reason it was such a good album, is the fact that they were really using it to sort of express their feelings about what had happened, and it resonated with a lot of people, or at least I know that's one of the reasons I think it sort of, I really appreciated it more than maybe some of the other ones that came after it.
Yeah, one of my favorite songs, obviously, on Slipknot is "Dead Memories." That's probably one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, Dead Memories or Vermilion's actually one of my favourites. It's like obviously a very different from the rest of the vibe, very sad, very sort of slow, but I absolutely love that song.
Is that the one where there's two parts?
Yes, and it's very sad.
Yeah, it's
Bit
it's
more
very
emo than I
weird.
would normally go, but yeah.
This is brilliant. I'm half an hour. We're having a nice little vibe about music, Doctor Who, Buffy. This is brilliant.
Yep.
Any other bands and stuff like that? Obviously, because I like rock as well.
So I'm trying to think. Recently, I've been sort of getting a bit more into Bring Me the Horizon's new stuff and Falling in Reverse. Especially with, I know that everybody has their own opinions on Ronnie Radke as a person, but see the music they've been bringing out recently, like the sort of more serious stuff, I've really been liking it. Especially since he went and got a vocal coach, just total other level from what they were doing before. My brain's kind of going a bit blank just now. One that's kind of out of left field one that I wasn't expecting myself is a girl called Scene Queen, who is doing, it's very much, it's probably not your thing to be honest, but I'm not gonna, it might be. It's very much bimbo core.
Never heard of it.
So bimbo core, very she's very into Pink, she's very into Barbie and stuff, but she also has something to say and she screams, it's metal, but it's very on its head, taking the piss out of the music industry, very much in a sort of girly turn it on its head way, where she does music that calls people out for bad behaviour. She's got a point of view. She recently did a song about sexual like misconduct within the music industry, and like it's such a weird mix of kind of like almost Barbie pop, but then also heavy like screaming guitar. Like it's yeah, I don't really know how else to describe it. It's kind of like if Barbie decided she was going to be a screamo artist, that's her.
I kind of want to check it out, but I'm thinking, do I really want her at the same time? It's brilliant.
I mean, I would give it at least one listen. I would say I'm trying to think what songs. So there's she has a song called 18 Plus, which is the one that I mentioned about the music industry, where it's actually specifically about a band. I will not say which band, but like a specific band that were called out a few times. There's also Pink Rover, which is a good song. Quite a lot of her songs will have like Pink in the title, but it's always got, even though it's a very sort of Pink bimbo time of it, she's always got something serious to say. There's always like an undercurrent of like seriousness to it. I don't know, I just really love it. It's one of those things that came out of complete left field for me, and I'm like, I didn't think I would be into this, but I'm kind of loving it.
I'm actually going to check this out because it intrigues me, and I'm willing, to give it a listen. So that's
So
my
let me
thing
know
after this show. Sorry, let's say that again. Sorry.
I was saying you'll need to let me know how you get on. Like it or
Okay,
hate it, either way, just let me know.
I will do. I will do. So I want to move back to wrestling a little bit. So, what's the goals? So obviously, what's the short term goal for yourself, and obviously, what's the long term?
So the short term goal is I want to wrestle as many places as possible. I just want to keep trying to get to as many companies as possible, try and get my face out there and try and learn as much as possible. Because I don't want to just do well at this. I want to be good at this. Like one day I want to be able to be like, I did that and I did it really well. Long term goals, I'm just gonna be completely unrealistic. One day I want to be on the big stage. I want to be on either in Japan, WWE, AEW, something. That is the unrealistic end goal. That is what we're aiming for, and I'm
It's
just
not.
going to try and learn and do as much on the way as possible.
It's not really unrealistic though. Do you know what I mean? Everybody's got dreams. You know what I mean? I mean,
I think that's me just hedging my own bets, just kind of being like, if it doesn't work, I did say it was unrealistic.
dear. So obviously we've still got a bit of time to obviously spare. So have you got any stories obviously which stick with you? Obviously while you've been obviously in the wrestling industry, well, like what stories what stick with you?
Oh, do you know there's one, and I apologise in advance. There is a girl who I've wrestled on a couple of occasions now. Who I love this girl. She is so off the wall, completely nuts. It's fantastic. She's called Lexi Lux, and the first time we wrestled each other, it was the first time we'd both done a hardcore match. It was the first hardcore match in Denmark that they'd ever seen between women. It was a huge deal for me. And right before the match, we realised there's no toilets backstage, none. We can't get out to go to the toilet, and our match was like third or fourth on the card, and the two of us are standing there like, I'm going to need to pee before this match. I can't. We can't go. And Lexi had said to me, she's like, if we don't get to pee, what happens if like what if you hit me in the bladder? Like what are we gonna do? And I was like, right, if you start peeing, I start peeing. And she's like, what? And I'm like, solidarity here. I'm like, if one of us goes, we both go, we make it. I don't know, we'll cover it somehow. I was like, do you know what? Solidarity between sisters here. Right? You go, I go. And she was just like, yeah, okay, cool. And we agreed. Thankfully, nothing of the sort happened. Nothing of the sort happened. And we spoke to the promoter jokingly later and said that this had happened. And he's like, do not pee in my ring. I do not care. I do not care. Don't you pee in my ring? I was like, no, that was not the plan. We did not want to do that. But it was one of those stories that I think is just never going to leave me. It's just the fact that me and this girl, we'd never met each other before this. We had no interaction really before it. Just, we're going to look after each other. We're sisters in this, right? Like, if this happens, we cover each other.
And I think that's the key thing there, obviously, in the ring, because obviously you're facing somebody who you've probably not faced before, so you're kind of building that trust in a way.
Yeah, because you always, no matter what, you're always looking after the other person. It's our job to make sure that we're safe doing this and that we keep everybody else safe doing this. But like, it was one of those moments where it was like it transcended wrestling. This was just two women, just like, if you go, I go. That's the deal, man. If you go, I go. We look after each other. I'll back you up. This is what's happening. And yeah, no, it was one of those really nice, totally bizarre moments, but like really nice moments. Where it was just like, we've got each other here, man. This will be okay.
That's brilliant. Any more stories? Can you top that one, or is that the best?
I feel like that's my most bizarre one so far. There was recently I was wrestling in Sweden, and there was a slight like positional error, and I ended up getting hit in the back of the head, a belter. Couldn't see it coming, just straight to the back of the skull. And I remember I was hung over a rope, and it was a flying knee. It was just one of those things that happen, just position.
Mm-hmm.
You just go on with it. But I was kind of, it happened, and then it felt like there was ages before I hit the ground. Like, do you know that way time just kind of slows down for a wee
Yep.
second, where your brain's going, "What's happening? What's going on here?" And basically, the whole time I'm just going, "How am I awake? How's this? How's this happening?" And it was after the match, a couple of the people from the crowd had come up to me and they were just like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. Like, my head hurts, but I'm fine. Don't worry. We're professionals. Like, we're cool. And then there's just this one guy come up, and in perfect English as well, the Swedish guy came up and he was just like, I never want to make you angry because you did that's the hardest thing I've ever seen. It's like, I am never going to mess with you. And I was just like, that's so cool. I didn't even do anything. I just didn't get knocked out. That's amazing. Cool. Right, you've made my day. Thank you so much.
So basically, people in Sweden think you're hard as nails.
Yes, and I love it. I'm not going to discourage that.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant. Ruby, thank you obviously so much for taking the time to obviously talk to us. Before we obviously do our outro, is there anything you want to plug?
So I'll probably just stick my socials in. I've
Yep.
got Ruby Roberts on pretty much all platforms. Ruby spelled RUBI. And Ruby Roberts _BBS for Instagram, Ruby Roberts BBS for Twitter, just Ruby Roberts on Facebook, and Ruby Roberts 0 for TikTok. I do occasional silly videos, and there's lots of wee clips of me wrestling if you fancy it. So there you go.
There you go. I mean, if it's all like obviously what she said today, I mean, we're in for a treat.
It's a bit all over the place. I'm an ADHD chaotic nightmare, so it's very, very much just me splattered all over the page.
That's good enough for me. So yeah, that's all from us. Don't forget, we are obviously back tomorrow for Wrestling with the Paranormal. Magic of Wrestling returns Saturday, and the All Left Wrestling show is on Sunday. Ruby Roberts, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your week.
You too. Thank you so much for having me on.
Not a problem. Magic Man out.